We have a very serious topic tonight, but unfortunately, I am not in a serious mood. But my bonnet is here, and bonnet in the pioneer way, not in the protect your hair way. This is meant to shield my eyes from the dust, and I felt like it was fitting to bring some levity to such a serious topic. But maybe this is actually offensive. Who knows? Maybe they're out there and they're like, my culture is not your costume. Also, I feel like I'm getting a canker sore right here. So that's awesome. We're having a great time. Everyone's doing awesome. Um, After this, depending on how long this takes and how I feel, I may or may not be doing debate commentary with Fraz on her TikTok live. I haven't decided yet. It'll depend on what she's doing and what I'm doing, but I may or may not be doing that, so maybe stick around for that as well. God, this canker sore sucks. That really is like not ideal. Spent the last 2 hours applying for new jobs. I hope one of them hires you. I hope one of them hires you. And I must say, unfortunately, I'm rocking the shit out of this bonnet. Like, unfortunately, I think I have a face that's built for a bonnet. Like, my face it needs a bonnet. Like, my 5 head is gone. I feel like it's not annoying me. Normally, I hate wearing hats, but, like, I'm kind of living for this. Like, I feel like, so I got inspired to do this by the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And then I bought this to wear to school when I teach about the Mormons settling Utah, because obviously. And then it showed up in the mail today, and I was like, oh my God, I should wear it for tonight's stream. I love the new layout for the stream. The slides are so much easier to see. I am glad the designer that helps me out with this is like a super slay rock star. So let's go ahead and get into it. I have not previewed a ton of this, so I do want to say, like, trigger warning, there's like a lot going on. Like, trigger warning, like, a lot. Like, if you don't know, this is a cult and they abuse women. We're not going to talk a ton about sexual abuse. It will come up a little bit, just because we're going to talk about, like, them getting convicted of crimes, and that's one of them. But we're not going to get into, like, reading stories or details or anything like that. I always like to give kind of, like, context of the trigger warning. We are going to get into details and stories about, like, financial fraud and labor trafficking, but not about sexual assault, but because it is a periphery related to this, so it does come up. And yes, next week we're doing the history of storm chasing, specifically like tornadoes. And we're also just going to learn about tornadoes. I kind of like it when we've had our science vibe. Like, the Orca stream was really fun, and then the Great Lakes stream was really fun when we got like a little sciencey. So we're going to talk about tornadoes, because tornadoes are actually really rare. They're very common in the US, but they're rare like worldwide. So yeah, I just think that that's cool. And storm chasing, I think there's a lot of storm chasers that are very smart and good at their jobs and know what they're doing and, like, get us valuable scientific information. And then I also think there's a lot of fucking idiots that put themselves and other people in danger. So there's just, like, a lot to discuss. As a weatherhead, I'm unbelievably excited for next week. I'm glad. Also, I have Skittles. I'm probably one of the first people to consume Skittles in a bonnet. I wish I could go back in time and be like, girl, try this. It's so good. It's so good. And yes, the Dr. Sufjan fundraiser is still going. Progress has slowed, but I am very aware, like, a lot of people have already given. So if you've already given and you can't give anymore, I completely understand. And if you can't do GoFundMe, the PayPal is on my link tree as well. And PayPal's actually a little bit better. It's a little bit faster, but either or works. So let's go ahead and get into labor trafficking and fraud in the FLDS communities and just, like, general fundamentalist religious spaces. And so we're going to get into a little bit of, like, soft history, just so you get the context. The FLDS is the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, not to be confused with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Two very different things. One is like the Mormon church you think of traditionally, and then FLDS is the fundamentalist one, and the main difference is the fundamentalist ones do polygamy. That's their main difference. There's other stuff too, but that's the main difference that people know about. There's some professional storm chasers that go to my old church, derogatory, so I'm excited for next week. I spilled my drink on myself. So, Who are the FLDS? What are they doing? How are they living? How are they laughing? What are their key beliefs? The FLDS Church teaches the doctrine of plural marriage. Like I said, they are polygamist. There's different sects of FLDS, but pretty much all of them are polygamist. They state that God commands, in order for a man to receive the highest form of salvation, to have a minimum of 3 wives. So, connected with this doctrine is the patriarchal doctrine. Boo, tomatoes, tomatoes. You can tell I'm like in a very silly mood, and unfortunately we're talking about like the most serious thing ever. The belief that wives are required to be subordinate to their husbands, but husbands are so stupid. Who would want to be subordinate to them? The prophet elects to take wives from men as well as give wives to men according to their worthiness. So like if you're a good husband, you get more bitches. If you're a bad husband, they take some of your bitches and give them to a good husband. But I'm really curious to hear their definition of good. What do you mean by that? Elaborate. What do you mean by good? What do you mean by good? What do you mean by good? 3 wives. Why do I feel like they're young? They are. That's what, like, we're not going to talk about that in depth. There's many documentaries about it, but it is relevant. So we are going to surface level mention it. Additionally, it's taught that they're literal children of Satan as there are literal children of God. You guys, I think we're the children of Satan that they're referring to. Men and women are forbidden to have any tattoos or body piercings. In general, women do not cut their hair short or wear makeup, trousers, or any skirts above the knee. Men wear plain clothing, usually long-sleeve collared shirts and full-length trousers. So what every man ever wears. What men literally all over the globe wear is what they wear. But the women have 1,000 rules, just to be clear. And I hate that they would love my hair. I have the hair that the Mormons wish they had. And I got it by breaking the commandments and being what's the word? What's a word they would use? A hysterical woman. And I got the hair and they did. They actually, a lot of them have really long, healthy hair. Anyway, clearly my brain is doing great right now. Women and girls usually wear, oh, perfect, more rules for girls, just as I thought. Usually wear pastel colored homemade long sleeve prairie dresses with hems between the ankle and mid calf, along with stockings or trousers underneath, usually keeping their hair coiffed, I don't know how to say that. They would say hussy. Oh, yes. A woman without morals is, I think, what they might call me. A woman without morals. I meant to put my blanket on for conservative reasons, but now I'm like, I think a bonnet and a tank top is exactly what would piss them off, and that's what we're here to do. So under the doctrine of the blood atonement, where the fuck did that come from? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, the blood atonement? Oh, right, that they have to take like a blood oath where they basically say like, I would rather die than not be Mormon. Like, I would fucking die for Mormonism. Like, that's what they're agreeing to. And it also says that certain sins, like murder, can only be atoned by the sinner's death. I feel like they're not enforcing the blood atonement. Like, you should be blood atoning for, like, rape and, like, lots of things that they're doing. And I think that they're not blood atoning. I think that that's just something they say to sound like they're strict about that. So the FLDS can trace its beginning back to Brigham Young, the then president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, once visited Short Creek and said, sorry, my hair is stuck. Once visited Short Creek and said, this will someday be the head and not the tail of the church. There will be granaries of the saint. This land will produce in abundance sufficient wheat to feed the people. In 1904, the LDS Church issued a second manifesto to excommunicate those who were going to enter plural marriages. Because originally the Mormons were doing the polygamous thing, and then the main Mormons were like, we don't do that anymore. And it's like the fundamentalists, like the OGs that still do that, the plural marriage thing. So that's like their main divide. And this is my biggest issue. Not my biggest issue with the FLDS, but one of many issues I have. 1904, not old enough. That's the rule with religion. It's got to be old. It has got to be old. I don't fuck out of here with these new ass religions. I don't want to hear about that. It has to be old. At what point does a cult become a religion? I say 300 years, because that means for many, many, many generations, people still feel that this is important to them. Oh, there's a weirdo in the chat. Where? I don't see it. 5 generations. I feel like 300 years maybe is 5 yeah, 5. Is that 5? I don't remember what I said. Oh, TikTok chat. Ugh, damn it. Thank you. I don't see him in the TikTok chat either. Do I have him blocked or something? I don't understand what's happening. Maybe TikTok got rid of them. Who knows? Let me pull up the TikTok chat so I can see it better to monitor these sorts of crimes within our community. Let me rearrange my screen a little bit to accommodate now that I'm an investigator. Okay. Cool. Yeah, a lot of the TikTok chat is disappearing. But anyway, let me know if someone comes back. Let me know if our community is being terrorized. I'll do what I can about it. They want you to marry them. I think it's the bonnet. I literally don't see that on mine. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Why is the child of Satan bringing down the vibe on TikTok? Ugh! I hate when men, and now I feel like I should take off the bonnet, but the bonnet is literally fucking serving. So let's try and make me seem as unapproachable as possible. I want to seem like I am untamable and that I would wreak havoc on any man who tried to talk to me. That's how I want to be. Why can I not see it? That's really like freaking me out. Wait, make the noise you make at kids on live. Go away! Ah! Oh. No, I don't think it's you. So the person who said the bonnet it's serving? Okay, whatever. We're moving on. I think I might know who you're talking about, and I don't think it's what you guys think it is. So anyway, origins of the FLDS, like we said, basically they wanted to do polygamy. That's their whole fucking shtick. So massive red flag. Massive red flag. This is Short Creek. It's an area on the border of Utah and Arizona. So it's Hilldale, Utah, and Colorado City. Ignore the random points. This is just the map that we could find. This is a cult. This is not a religion. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that's disrespectful, but like it was in 1904 and it's in Hilldale, Utah. You're telling me out of everywhere on earth, that's where salvation is coming. Hilldale, Utah. And your whole thing is based on multiple young wives. That's like literally your whole thing. It's a giving cult. So this guy is speaking Hebrew, but it's good to watch to get more of a sense of the town. So this is Hilldale, Utah. If you were here for the FLDS Zillow stream, you're a little bit familiar with some of this info. It seems lovely. I know that the Lord looked at that and said, right here. Right here. Right here. Right here. I like Mr. Redacted's hat. Thank you. So yeah, you get the vibes. Seems like it probably is a sundown town. I mean, Hilldale, Utah isn't really screaming equity and inclusion to me. So trigger warning for lots of things. Forced labor, brief mention of sexual abuse, cult. I feel like you kind of knew what you were in for when you clicked on this. I'm going to be honest with you. So, important event in 1953. Post-war development in the Short Creek Raid. In the early morning hours of July 26, 1953, the largest mass arrest of polygamists in American history took place at the fundamentalist Mormon community in Short Creek, Arizona. The raid was led by 102 Arizona police officers and National Guard soldiers. It was a dramatic crackdown on the practice of polygamy, which had persisted in the community after it had been renounced by the LDS Church, like we talked about. During, if they say taco night in Hilldale, Utah, you know there's going to be no seasonings whatsoever. Yeah, no. Like, the food that Tim Walz makes is spicy for the people in Hilldale, Utah. You know? And Tim Walz made a joke with Kamala Harris about his white people taco night, so I didn't just like pull that out of nowhere. So anyway, during the raid, authorities arrested the entire population of Short Creek, including 236 children. That really tracks for the 50s to be like, oh, they're abusing children? Let's arrest the children! That will show everyone. You don't abuse children around here, 'cause we'll arrest them. And you too. They arrested the whole fucking town. Of these children, 150 were separated from their parents for over 2 years. So it's really understandable why these people hate the government. Are the men that run this organization good? No. But I understand the generational trauma, especially with women who have had their children ripped from them relatively recently in history. Like, there are women who were alive for that are probably still alive talking about it. I get why they're so afraid of law enforcement and social workers and anybody, and why it's so difficult to help people in this type of situation. The raid was highly controversial and generated significant media attention, becoming a symbol of tension between the government and the religious communities practicing polygamy. Following the raid, fundamentalist Mormons remained in the area, undeterred in their commitment to the beliefs, because they have a blood oath. They say, I'd rather be dead than not be Mormon, so that checks out. The event did not dismantle the community as intended. It actually strengthened the resolve of the residents and their leaders. Exactly. That's how cult leaders get stronger, by being like, see, look, they're coming after us. I told you, I'm not crazy. And they're like, damn, they literally stole our kids. You're right. That is the devil. Like, it's all manipulation. It's all manipulation, and it's so obvious when you're not in it. But when you're in it, this thing about manipulation. So, future FLDS leader Leroy Johnson, who would later become a prominent figure in this church, spoke to journalists in the aftermath of the raid, defending the community's right to practice polygamy. The raid's failure to suppress the community ultimately led to the town being renamed Colorado City, reflecting its resilience and continuity as a center for Mormon fundamentalism. The Short Creek raid was a pivotal moment because it highlighted the conflict between religious freedom and state law and all that stuff, and it continued to set the stage for future leaders to be abusive and do their thing and alienate people from law enforcement, because law enforcement is just literally so bad at their job. Like, so many times it's like, how are you that bad? Like, how is it possible to be that bad at your job? How? Doing nothing, you would be better at. Just sit down, don't talk, and it would be better. So early leadership, John Y. Barlow. Relation to Lisa Barlow, maybe, probably not, but maybe. Who's to say? John Barlow became a senior member of the priesthood in 1935, pre-raid. That's pre-raid. We'll divide this into pre-raid and post-raid. Guiding the community after it was excommunicated because the people refused to renounce polygamy. He led the community until his death in 1949. So he knows no land of raid. He was dead before the raid happened. So they were probably like, oh my God, John Barlow would have protected us. Then Rulon Tefts in 1986. They didn't have a ruler, I guess, They didn't have a leader, I guess, for a while, but it was during the raid time. I can see things were probably a little bit chaotic. So enter Rulon Jeffs, 1986. He became the president of the FLDS Church in 1986 and served until his death in 2002. Short reign. Under his leadership, they formalized their structure and expanded their influence. He was instrumental in the consolidation of power within the Jeffs family, setting the stage for Warren Jeffs to succeed him. Then Warren Jeffs is the really fucking horrible person that a lot of people know about. Ruler is crazy, but also correct. No, like, I feel like I'm not wrong. The fact that I'm in a bonnet and I have a vodka Sprite and Skittles. The FLDS are quaking. They're quaking. Warren Jeffs is quaking in his prison cell. Ha! I have freedom of speech. You don't. So he took over in 2002 after his father died. He quickly centralized control, enforced strict rules, and purged dissenters. They kick people out. They don't really kick women out because they want to exploit them sexually, but they do kick men out very easily because, keep in mind, they got to keep their ratios. So they kick those men out. Despite being imprisoned in 2007 on charges of sexual abuse, he continues to control the church, and then in 2011 he retook legal control of the FLDS and excommunicated 45 members and maintained his role as prophet from prison. Following his imprisonment, they had fragmented issues, and then, like we said, in 2011 he took over. Warren Jeffs' brother led the church until Warren removed him from leadership roles in 2012. It seems like they're having infighting. It does. I hope they kill each other. I hope they fight so much that they all kill each other. And I don't feel bad about saying that. I'm going to get banned from live and not be able to do it tonight. That's what's going to happen. I want your hair to be in one of those strangely loose fishtail braids. Exactly. I wish I knew how to do that. I wanted to do like the Mormon braid, but I literally don't know how. So despite his arrest in 2023, he is still recognized as the prophet of a group of about 50 followers. So this is him. I think we have watched this before if you were on the the Zillow FLDS stream, but this was his compound.
It looks like a hotel you'd see on the side of a highway. Long, featureless corridors, numbers on the doors.
Terrible design.
Decor. But for the many wives of notorious polygamist Warren Jeffs, this was home.
This room was the prayer room.
Jim Murray got an exclusive look inside the huge compound where Jeffs and his so-called sister wives lived. All 79 of them. That's right, 79 wives.
So your bedroom was on this main floor?
Yes.
Our guide was Brielle Decker, who was wife number 65.
I feel like if you're in this situation, best case scenario is he, like, ignores you. That's best case scenario.
The 31-year-old says she was forced to marry Warren Jeffs when she was only 18.
Coming back here is actually healing.
Warren Jeffs' rambling compound is located in Hilldale, Utah, headquarters of the radical polygamist group
For someone that hates women, they do have a lot of wives.
run by Jeffs. Today, the town is nowhere what it once was. Very few residents are left, and those who are here mainly stay to themselves in compounds with high walls and gates. The largest compound belonged to former
I know if all my wives and children are happy, I build a large wall.
church leader Jeffs. It is 28,000 square feet. It has 42 bedrooms and 2 giant kitchens. Behind the walls of this storage room is a secret chamber where sensitive documents related to the church were kept in
I don't
a
like
safe.
that.
There's even a hotel-style workout room.
That's
So
kind
you
of
do
nice.
everything in groups?
Yes, like the whole day is scheduled. You have to be there. And if you're late, you do get punished.
The wives were required to pray.
Why'd they
every
make her get
hour,
back down
getting
and do
down
that?
on their hands and knees and
I would've
holding
said no.
hands.
She's better than me.
Talking was not permitted.
On the chimney it says pray and obey.
Right.
And that's the message you'd see every day.
Warren Jeffs is
All right, you get the point. You get it. You get it. So Oprah goes inside Zion Polygamist Ranch. I think this might be a different group. What is this? I think this is like old Oprah.
It's your wake up.
It's well before sunrise on the ranch.
I
and
love
this
Oprah.
day is starting like any other for Richard.
Also, my assistant made this. I sent her a bunch of stuff, and then some stuff she found. So a lot of it I've seen, but some of it I haven't.
Joy, Alice, Rosie,
Why does
and
she have
their
braces?
9 children.
Ah!
4:30, I get up. I'm generally try to be completely dressed.
4:30?
ready for the day before I wake up the children. I start at 5.
Bro.
Sometimes
Bro,
it's a
bro,
little
bro,
bit
bro,
of a
bro.
chore, get the boys out of bed, your face clean, put it in your hamper.
That kid looks like a Keebler elf. I'm sorry.
We gather at 6 o'clock.
I know he's a child,
family
but-
prayer, and then we have a class.
It's a basis of our whole day. To set the day, to start it right, to have the children feel that sweetness.
I will say, they can do the fuck out of some hair. Like, I wish I could braid like that. And those people that are like, there's tutorials. I'm an idiot. I can't do a tutorial for hair. I can't do my own hair. I'm sorry.
Sweet spirit of prayer, sweet spirit of prayer. Let's do our line. Good morning.
The morning prayer class ends with Richard greeting the entire family one by one.
Good morning.
God bless you.
In our home, there are other mothers.
Why did he greet the boys first? Why didn't you greet your wives first?
And, they're all part of the family life here.
With 3 mothers and 9 children in the house, we wondered how this all works.
Yeah, I got
We love
questions.
them all as our own, but of course I can't take care of her new baby. So, yes, we love them as our own, but they definitely have their mother that takes care of them.
They're all mine, aren't they?
I love them all the same. There's always a bond with your biological mother, yes, but we don't.
Get in line for
in
your
the children's
baby
mind,
fried
don't try
eggs.
To make somebody more than somebody else, so the children bond with.
It
each
seems
other
like they're
as
not
we
on the same
bond with
page
the
about
children.
this.
Our lives are taking care of the children.
Each
Ugh,
mother has her
this is so
own
depressing.
bedroom.
If a mother has a child, then you just pretty well can fill in the blanks. There's been some time with father and mother together.
We asked Richard how he divides his intimate time with each of the 3 women.
Why did they sign up for
We
this?
live a clean and chaste life, and we just don't talk about that. It's a pure love of
I like how that's what he's saying, and Cody Brown was like, all right, so this is what I do.
wanting someone else to be encouraged, blessed, increased in whatever way, rather than falling.
I
to
can
the
tell which
passion
wives
of the
don't like
body.
each other,
So,
right?
As far as how we love, it's a Christ-like love.
What does that mean?
The ranch resembles a commune. Everyone pitches
Oh.
in and everything is shared. The families shop at the ranch storehouse, but no money is ever exchanged.
Our food on the ranch is very fresh. Just about everything is homemade.
Okay, I will say they are kind of going off with this. Y'all ate on that one little thing. Y'all ate on the one little self-sustaining community thing with no money and just sharing. Y'all did eat with that.
Created for each other.
I'll recognize it. I'm wearing a bonnet. Clearly, I'm open-minded.
The milk, cheese, eggs, and meat are all produced
They
here.
both hate the wife in brown, and I agree with that.
Around the corner is the clothing store. Almost all of the clothes are sewn right upstairs.
Clean and chaste with
People
3
here
wives
are
and 9 kids.
surprisingly high-tech. Almost everyone over 16 seems to have a cell phone, and iPods are everywhere. We asked what they listen to, and they told us religious music and sermons. On a typical day, Richard
Good.
leaves for work. Since the raid, he says many of the men have been
Not since
forced
the
to
raid.
find construction jobs outside the ranch to help pay the mounting legal bills.
Work.
After Joy drops the older
Oh,
kids off at school,
aw, you mean a man who took on 3 wives and 9 kids has to work? Aww. Everyone say a prayer for him.
See you later, Max. Heaven bless you.
all 3
Heaven
mothers
bless
take
ya.
the little ones to work.
Taking
in the
that.
orchard.
Children learn by example, and that's how I want the children to be. As willing and helpful.
To be doing yard labor in a dress
Yes,
as a
maybe.
child.
I just don't understand the outside world. Probably as much as you guys don't understand us. But
She's
I'm
self-aware.
happy.
It's hard for most people to imagine what it would be like to share a man with 2 other women, but here on the ranch, that is their way of life.
The lady in purple has seen some
We
stuff.
just love each other. We do it together. It's a togetherness.
That's why we can love each other. It's because we love him.
They do not like her, and I do not like her either. Like, that was kind of a lot. So, Warren Jeff's children accused him of sexual abuse. I'm actually going to skip past this because I think they talk about it more than I want to. But he was sexually abusing a shit ton of kids, marrying girls as young as like 12, I think even 11. I'm not 100% sure. He's in prison for that. It was very well documented. They raided the place. Like, it was a lot. He did terrible things. He deserves to be in prison. I sincerely, in my spirit, hope that in prison, he's getting his ass beat every single fucking day. I hope he wakes up and gets punched in the face within seconds of opening his eyes every single motherfucking day of his life. That is what I pray for, and I know that the Lord intends that for him. So, moving on. After he got arrested, the city was like very chaotic. I believe that is when they were saying before the raid, after the raid is what they might have been talking about there.
I was kicked out of the FLDS church January 10th, 2004. They asked me how old I was going to let my daughter get before I turned her in for marriage. And I told them that if anybody come knocking at my door before she was 18, they was going to have to come through my baseball bat.
Like, we're out there driving around, there'll be 10 cars following us. You know, traveling the same roads.
People are ratting on each other and spying on each other.
You know, you get the double bird from them all the time, and they do things. They haven't done anything to me physically, but they do things like, you know, run screws in your tires all the time. They do that all the time. And they'll kill your animals, kill your horses.
And it's become totally the
They'll kill your
opposite of
horses?
what it was when we moved here. It's not a friendly town anymore.
What the fuck?
The strange thing is that neighbor that I see once in a while is my brother that doesn't speak to me. And And on one side, and
Very
on the other
Wild
side is
West.
my son, who also doesn't speak to me.
Damn.
So mentally, that's a stress for me to have people that I love so dearly that are on, they're so being so controlled.
There's so many FLDS people have come back from other compounds. That's why you drive down the road and you see plates from everywhere.
But we're starting to see the changes. We're starting to see people saying we're done, we're fed up, this isn't right. Now you see kids out riding horses and bicycles, and you see curtains open on the windows. But before, there was years. How many years was Warren on the run? It was a ghost town.
The FLDS believe that they should have their constitutional right to live their religion, and I'm totally in favor of that, as long as they allow other people the same right.
There's a lot going on there. So, this is a guy's personal experience. Carlos Smith Holm is an ex-FLDS member who endured several hardships under Warren Jeffs. Born in 1989 in Colorado City, Arizona, Carlos grew up in the community dominated by Jeff's extreme religious doctrine. His father, driven by a desperate desire to comply with Jeff's edicts and secure his places in the faith, imposed strict religious and disciplinary measures on Carlos and his family. In 2002, when Carlos was just 13, Jeffs became the leader of the FLDS. Jeffs initiated a campaign pursuing those deemed unfaithful, causing widespread chaos and suffering in the community. Jeffs preached apocalyptic messages, leveraging fears on end times to enforce compliance. This period saw men being expelled from the community, leading to the breakup of families and severe emotional trauma. Well, yeah, if you want like 70-something wives, like he said, you're going to have to kick a bunch of men out. That's just math. The community's focus, adherence to celestial law, the multiple wives, intensified, leading to tragic outcomes including suicides and heart attacks among men who felt they had failed spiritually. Carlos's father was unable to secure a second wife due to perceived inadequacies and became increasingly abusive in his attempts to assert control and demonstrate his faithfulness. Carlos was subjected to hard discipline, forced labor, and intense religious indoctrination. This is our main focus of tonight. He worked from early morning until late at night, often enduring 84-hour work weeks as a teenager, while his education suffered due to lack of proper schooling and the imposition of religious studies over basic subjects. If you were here for my Duggar stream, a different vibe, but we look at some curriculum and it's fucking crazy. Carlos's home life was marked by frequent physical confrontations with his father. His father would barge into his room, accuse him of disobedience, and physically assault him. The violence was a regular occurrence. With Carlos being subjected to these fights multiple times a week, his emotional and physical well-being deteriorated as a result of these abuses, compounded by the oppressive religious environment and lack of proper sleep and education. Desperate attempts to escape... Almost knocked my drink over. Desperate to escape the abusive environment, Carlos ran away from Colorado City, December 17, 2007. He faced hardships after leaving the FLDS, including homelessness, extreme poverty, and ongoing health issues. And I highly doubt he had, like, proper paperwork, like a driver's license or anything like that, to, like, be able to get, even apply to jobs. Like, you know, I see immediately how that happened. He attempted college and attempted to join the Army. He encountered numerous obstacles and continued to struggle with mental health issues, including multiple suicide attempts. He now seeks to share his story through a Kickstarter campaign aimed at funding a book about his life and the broader FLDS experience. Can someone find that Kickstarter campaign and put it in the chat? Let's help our boy out. His goal is to provide a comprehensive account of life within FLDS, focusing on the oppressive conditions, the impact of Jeff's leadership, and his personal journey from a controlled and abusive environment to the struggle for survival and self-discovery. This is like giving book, you know. Despite the pain and drama he endured, he is determined to share his story of resilience and survival. So, let's get into some of the financial stuff here. That was just kind of a general story so you can see an example of the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. So, Warren Jeffs amassed over $100 million in assets through real estate, construction, and exploiting his followers. He controlled land in multiple states, including nearly all properties in Colorado City, Arizona, and Hilldale, Utah. Like we said, they pretty much own the whole fucking town. Through a church trust that is called the United Effort Plan. We will be getting into the United Effort Plan. It's crazy. FLDS followers often work for little to no pay. They help him bid on a competitive and lucrative construction projects. Bid on and complete lucrative construction projects. Lucrative means it makes a lot of money. Jeff also extracted money directly from his followers through businesses they operated, including high-earning ventures like Western Precision, which constructed parts for the U.S. Department of Defense. Members were required to pay monthly tithings ranging from $500 to $1,000. Our tax dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen. Our tax dollars at work. Raise a hand if you're surprised. Because I'm not. And Jeff's wielded absolute control, reassigning families and property at will as a form of punishment. So if you pissed him off, he'd be like, your house is done. You're out. You're out. You're out. You're out. My house now. Moving a different family in. Jeff's wealth accumulation involved multiple illegal and exploitative practices, including fraud and financial manipulation of his followers. Yes, there will be a VOD of this stream. So the UEB Trust, the United Effort Plan, was originally formed in 1942 as a subsidiary organization of the church. The land and houses formerly occupied by the FLDS Church are owned by the United Effort Plan. Obviously, a lot of them got kicked out. The UEP also owns most of the property and the businesses where the FLDS operates. The church viewed this united order as a means for living the traditional doctrine, the law of consecration. In 2005, the UEB was seized by the state of Utah following a lawsuit by the Attorney General. It was worth $100 million at that time, and now state control of the UEB ended in 2019, with the trust being formed into a religiously neutral entity benefiting the original donors and the heirs, including those who had left the FLDS Church. So a lot of the money stuff, like we said, after the arrest have been kind of changed. But this is when they were getting evicted, when the government took over the UEB, and I think it's a really telling that, like, it's the same vibe as in 1953 when they arrested the children. Like, I get it, you guys needed to take over that money, but why didn't you use it to, like, do right by the victims? Like, why didn't you use it and make sure the victims were okay, even the ones that didn't leave? You know what I mean? Like, so I see why they have so much distrust of the authorities, because, like, every time they're going through a lot. They're going through a whole lot of shit. So what is financial abuse? This involves controlling or exploiting someone's financial resources, like putting them in the UEB, so then they end up getting evicted later, without their consent, or sometimes with their consent. But again, consent under coercion is not actually consent. So just because they signed doesn't mean they fully consented. It also includes practices like coercing someone to give up control of their money, unauthorized use of their funds, restricting access to finances, or creating economic dependency. The goal is often to gain power and control over the victim, leading to financial instability and long-term challenges for the abused individual. So labor trafficking is also a problem in their community. Trafficking means like taking across state lines or international borders illegally. So it's or even I think within cities, trafficking is just movement. Moving people to do labor, exploiting them, that's labor trafficking. So labor trafficking refers to coercive practices to exploit members, including children, for paid or unpaid or forced labor within the community. This exploitation is often justified by religious teachings or community pressure that involves manipulation of loyalty, threats of spiritual punishment, or physical coercion, beating the shit out of them, to compel members to work without compensation or against their will. Labor trafficking within the FLDS can include forcing members to work long hours in construction, farming, or other church-owned businesses. The work is often carried out under the guise of fulfilling religious duties or contributing to the community, but disproportionately benefits the church leadership like Warren Jeffs. The community is isolated and insular in nature, along with strict control over members' lives, which makes it very difficult for victims to escape or seek help. Children and teenagers have been particularly vulnerable. They're often pulled out of school. They are often homeschooled. Almost all of them are homeschooled. And I'm not even anti-homeschool, but like clearly we need to be looking more into it. Where was I? They're often pulled out of school to work in harsh conditions without pay. Additionally, members who attempt to refuse work may face severe repercussions, including social ostracization, excommunication, or threats of losing access to family members. This system of control and exploitation is a clear example of labor trafficking within this religious setting. So, human trafficking in the FLDS. It's almost like capitalism is conducive to exploitation, because think about the fucking idiot over at Amazon that's in charge of procuring contractors to build a new whatever the fuck. He looks at 2 estimates. This one's lower. They're not going to look into it beyond that. They're not going to be like, oh, are those unpaid 12-year-olds operating a concrete machine? No, they're not going to check. They're not going to check. So that's the way they get into more sending girls for men that are far away, stuff that, again, super important. There's tons of documentaries about it, just not really what we're going to be focusing on tonight, because this is the difference between the way they exploit boys and the way they exploit girls. Is I think with the boys, they do it in a more public-facing way because the exploitation looks very different. But this polygamist prophet is caught transporting underage girls in a trailer.
Your names and stuff.
No, ma'am.
No.
You're not going to decide the outcome of this. We will decide, and we'll let you know how everything's going to happen.
Yes, and property.
Okay?
Shocking body camera video shows the arrest of self-proclaimed prophet and fundamentalist church leader Samuel Bateman after investigators found him illegally transporting underage girls in a trailer.
How old are you? 14. How old are you? 11?
11?
12? You? How old are you?
It happened on August 28th in Flagstaff, Arizona. Authorities pulled over
Cody Brown? Where was Cody Brown when this happened? Where was Cody Brown on August 28th?
Bateman after receiving multiple concerned calls about his trailer.
Why children are being transported in a vehicle. We're getting calls about hands sticking out of a vehicle, out of the trailer. So that is why we're contacting you guys, because it is unsafe for children to be riding in a trailer.
I rarely agree with police, but he did get them there.
3 girls, ages 11 to 14, hiding. The trailer had makeshift seats and a porta potty inside.
Where were they taking them?
Federal court documents say Bateman is a leader in the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, or FLDS. The church, known for practicing polygamy, is an offshoot of the modern Latter-day Saints church. Local news stations report Bateman has dozens of followers and more than 20 wives, who he is
20?
accused of sexually abusing and trafficking across state lines.
He did have an 11-year-old in a trailer, so that tracks.
At this point, he's detained right now. I don't know. Okay, I understand that, but like he said, once we do our investigation, we can figure this out. But
body camera video shows FLDS women voicing concern for Bateman, demanding he be released.
Manipulation's crazy.
No, ma'am.
No.
You're not going to decide the outcome of
Literally
this.
transporting them like
we'll
livestock.
let you know how everything's going to happen here, okay?
The women can also be heard saying they fear law enforcement, referencing the 2008 raid of Warren Jeffs' fundamentalist sect in Texas.
It's just so frustrating. We just keep driving the wedge further and further and further, and the victims are who get hurt in that.
Well, and what city or state was that in? It was in Texas. Okay, well, you're in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Like, you are so fucking stupid. It would have been free to be like, I'm really, really sorry that happened to you. I know that hurt people you love. I'm sure that's very painful, and I don't want to do that to you. Can you trust me when I say I don't want to do that to you? Like, that would have been so easy. And I learned that from working at a pizza restaurant. Why don't police officers know that?
Right now.
So we're not even in Texas. That's comforting.
We are just trying to figure this out right now.
Bateman was charged with 3 counts of child abuse.
Get him!
And is being held in Florence, Arizona. 3 adult women, believed to be some of Bateman's wives, are also charged with kidnapping and obstruction of justice. Reporting for Long Crime Network.
Like, I get why they charge them, but Jesus. So, some more financial abuse and fraud. I had a couple different stories, so they're not all related. We're just going to kind of read through them, and we'll see how many we get through. So, story number 1. A federal racketeering lawsuit against the Kingston group, a polygamous sect in Utah. A substantial and legal actions sheds light on the group's alleged systematic abuses and criminal activity. Filed by 10 former members, the 136-page complaint accuses the sect of operating a criminal enterprise under the guise of a religious community, engaging in severe and extensive abuses over several decades. The lawsuit names 50 defendants, including prominent members of the Kingston family. This is a different, FLDS group, not the Warren Jeffs, but like I told you, they're a couple. A lot of them are similar. The members of the Kingston family, the Davis County Cooperative Society, the official name of the Kingston group. So I guess they had their own little money pot as well. The Vanguard Academy, a public charter school run by the sect. Oh, awesome! We're giving them public education money. Fucking, of course we are. Why wouldn't we be? You know what? Let's give them more. Why stop at one charter school run by them? Let's get them all across America. The real public schools don't need funding. Let's give it to these people. Okay, that's fine. Didn't expect to see that tonight, but cool. It also lists 450 unidentified businesses purportedly operated by the sect. The complaint outlines numerous federal and state law violations following on allegations of labor and sex trafficking, economic exploitation, and child abuse. So there's another group that got in trouble for this. According to the complaint, same story, they're labeled. The Kingston group forced children and young women into grueling labor conditions, often starting at an extremely young age. The plaintiff reports being coerced into working in the Kingston-owned business with little to no pay in abusive work environments. The complaint details instances where children were involved in fraudulent activities, such as falsifying tax returns, destroying evidence as a part of their broader strategy to defraud government entities, a practice described as bleeding the beast. So they're defrauding the government because they think that's what God wants, which I've heard worse, but it is illegal. The lawsuit also describes several instances of sexual abuse and trafficking. Plaintiffs allege they were forced into marriages with relatives, physical abuse, like we talked about. Pretty much all of the financial abuse, they found physical and sexual abuse as well. Shocking. Abusive people abuse in more than one way. The legal action includes multiple violations of the Fair Labor and Standards Act for unpaid wages, allegations of labor and sex trafficking, and racketeering, violations of the RICO law, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act. It also claims sexual battery, abuse of children, emotional distress. The plaintiffs seek forms of compensation, including unpaid wages, overtime, and punitive damages. A judge has ordered all parties to propose a schedule for the case. As of now, the defendants have not formally responded to the allegations. Shocker. The lawsuit marks a significant legal and social challenges for the Kingston group, potentially bringing long-hidden abuses to light and seeking justice for those harmed by the sex practices. Yikes. So moving on to the Barlows. Do we know if they're related to Lisa Barlow? We may never know. The Barlows, all members of FLDS, were involved in a tax fraud operation. That's a fun little twist. They aimed to defraud the government by obtaining fraudulent tax refunds totaling $2.6 million. They falsified tax documents and manipulated tax returns. The Barlow brothers used their connections and business operations to execute the fraud. They submitted false W-2 forms showing inflated tax withholdings. For instance, Alma Barlow falsely claimed that $628,000 was withheld from his paychecks, requesting a refund of $429,000. Barlow also falsified business expenses related to his clothing company, Most Wanted Jeans, to claim a tax return of $45,168 in 2012. Again, our tax dollars at work. They expanded their fraudulent activities by offering to file taxes for other residents in the area. They manipulated these filers' incomes, marital status, and dependents to qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit, which reduced their tax liabilities. The Barlows charged these individuals a 10% fee from their refunds. So they're literally just running a tax fraud business now? Was the labor exploitation on construction sites not enough for you? You had to get into tax fraud? On April 5th, 2017, a grand jury in Salt Lake City indicted them on charges of conspiracy and making false claims to the government. The indictment was initially sealed to prevent tipping off the defendants. Alma and Denver Barlow were arrested in Missouri. Trenton Barlow's arrest details are less clear, but all three appeared in court in 2017. The brothers were granted release pending their trial, which was scheduled for 2018. They were reported to be complying with the terms of their pretrial release. Their attorney indicated they're no longer affiliated with the FLDS Church, but were deeply influenced by its teaching during the fraud. I bet they got excommunicated for getting caught. Yikes. Story number 3. I think there's like 9 or 10 in here. Close to it. And yet the IRS still hasn't given me my refund. So true. 2009, Art Jeffs, a devout member of FLDS, relocated his auto parts business from Colorado City to Hilldale, Utah, which are 2 seconds apart, and secured a prime industrial lot previously leased to another FLDS-affiliated business. He converted this lot into a CarQuest franchise store, Preferred Parts. I don't know what that means. The store initially thrived, benefiting from its strategic location and the support of the FLDS community. Then in 2011, Art Jeffs and several of his brothers were summoned for a repentance mission. What the fuck is that? Where do you go to repent? By FLDS leadership, including Warren Jeffs, who was then imprisoned. How are you going to let someone tell you what to do from prison? This reminds me of like when women are dating a guy in prison, like they weren't dating him before, but he's in prison and they met through something, and he'll be like, you need to stay home, don't go out with your friends. Like, you're in prison, not me. You know, the mission required them to leave the community and write letters confessing of their sins. Art left the business in the care of his wife, Jerusha, that is like a very Mormon name, and his cousin, Marcus. Then in 2015, following their perceived misstep and the visible encounter between Art and Jerusha Jeffs in public, both were communicated by the FLDS. This led to a severe and immediate boycott of Preferred Parts, and sales plummeted from $120,000 per month to just $20,000 as FLDS members stopped buying from them. The boycott was also accompanied by a resignation of the store's employees. The FLDS effectively crippled the business by redirecting their patronage to competing stores and businesses under FLDS control, leading to a prolonged and severe economic impact. 2014 to 18, Art and Jerusha Jeffs initiated a lawsuit against Streamline Automotive, the municipal government of Hilldale, and FLDS leaders. This is really screaming to me like, what do you mean you're exploiting me now? Like, why were y'all chill with everything before? But once you're being affected by it, now it's a fucking problem. That you got excommunicated. You know what I mean? Like, it was fine when you were making $120,000 a month. Then you didn't have shit to say. But now, oh, okay. Feels really genuine. They allege that these parties conspired to put them out of business. Their claims include a breach of contract, and accusations that local governments and the FLDS-related businesses intentionally diverted their businesses away. That's the other thing. In a lot of these areas, the FLDS people are like in the government, like local governments, not like super high up, but they're trying to. They're in a lot of local governments as well. In 2014, disputes arose over the lease agreement. Art Jeffs attempted to purchase the land where his store was located, but Hilldale refused his offer. The legal battles were complicated by the fact that many government entities which were under FLDS control were also accused of discriminatory practices against non-FLDS businesses. Then, the boycott led to inventory shortages and financial difficulties. Local governments and businesses shunned them even more. They got a loan for $50,000 and received donated labor for store improvements. I guess people read about this online and felt bad for them. But the business faced ongoing challenges. Like, at this point, shut it down and move and get a regular job. I'm sorry. Like, I know it was your life's work or whatever, but, like, you really want to live here? This is the fight you really want to fight? Like, you're having fun? Move and get a regular job and move into an apartment, and I'm sorry. Shit happens. You were a part of the FLDS church. I don't know what to tell you. So, basically, it is bad for the local economy because they discriminate against other businesses, but I really don't feel that bad for this guy. Kill me! I don't! Grifting. It's giving college controlling boyfriend. So, story number 4 is a biofuel scam. Artsy. 2010 is when the scam begins. The fraud began on a cattle ranch in northern Utah where Jacob Kingston, a member of the Kingston clan, established Washiki Renewable Energy, a biofuel company known as The Order, viewed as defrauding the government as bleeding the beast as a form of reparations for what they perceived as persecution. I will say, like, I see the thought line there. Is it okay? No, but I see where they're coming from. They obtained $40 million in refunds from the IRS by falsely filing claims for biofuel tax credits. That kind of feels like the IRS's fault. Like, yes, these people are fucked up, but, like, Why did you give the Kingston polygamist $40 million? Did no one even Google it? There should be someone in the IRS where if the check is over 10 million, we Google the people. Just a thought. Just a thought. Like, this was 2010. We had Google. It was embarrassing. So, 2 years into the scam, Jacob Kingston set out Levon Tremenzayan, that's an apocalypse-ass name, an LA gas tycoon with deep ties to the Armenian mafia. He was known as the Lion. He operated a fuel empire and had connections with corrupt law enforcement officers who could provide protection for the Kingstons. This is getting interesting. The partnership rapidly expanded the fraud with Leon, I can't pronounce his last name, so we're calling him Levin, using his industry knowledge to boost the operation, leading to hundreds of $1 million in fraudulent subsidies being funneled into their pockets. Not the Armenian mafia. I thought they were the good guys. So, there's like this main one that causes the most well-known problems, but there's other sect which is basically the same but slightly different. So this is about the Kingstons. Is there more to this biofuel scam? Okay, good. The Kingston clan, known as the Order, is a secretive and insular polygamous group officially called the Davis County Cooperative Society. They're primarily based in Utah. They're one of the most controversial Mormon fundamentalist sects, notorious for strict hierarchy, extensive criminal activity, and abusive practices. The Kingston clan is considered a cult by many due to its intense control over members and strict adherence to polygamy and an extreme interpretation of religious doctrine. What's this?
People who leave the group and publicly talk about it are automatically evil. They're enemies. We're told they're demons. They're going to hell now. They're turning away from God. They're betraying us.
Tonight, Vanguard Academy is addressing the elephant in the room. They say the public school is being discriminated against because of polygamy. The school says it's unfair for the state to remove all of its board members.
Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbets revealed the school's ties to the polygamous Kingston group nearly 2 years ago. He joins us live in studio tonight.
I'm glad
with an
that
update.
this is in here. I wanted to know about
Bob Kelly, for 20 months, we have explained how church and state are blurred at best at Vanguard Academy, and especially
Blurred
for
at
these
best.
9 administrators who are about to lose their positions, especially because of the millions of taxpayer dollars moving through the school to fund Kingston businesses hired as vendors. We feel you have a right to know where your money has been going for the past 7 years.
Yeah, we do have a right.
What brings us here today?
Members of the polygamous Kingston group walked in as Vanguard Academy administrators. They walked out feeling like their school was being taken from them.
For the school to have to replace their board members, I'm thrilled about that.
But Vanguard Academy isn't supposed to belong to anyone. It's a public school.
I think all public charter schools ought to be held to the same standards. And to the degree that Vanguard is not meeting those standards, it should be held accountable by its authorizer.
One story after another. So yeah, that kind of thing is troubling, and I think it's my job as a representative to be troubled.
On Monday, the State Charter School Board voted to put Vanguard Academy on probation. All 9 of the board members will be removed, and the state will choose their replacements.
They should look forward to that if they welcome the transparency.
Nearly 2 years ago, Fox 13 News discovered the school spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on Kingston businesses. It's still happening today.
Basically a private school with public money. And that's, I think, the most crucial part of your investigation. You're talking to the right people and you're asking so many good questions. And they were questions that were overlooked by the State Charter Board and hopefully will no longer be.
Brooke Anderson is a school data analyst. She was shocked to learn that Vanguard Academy spends less on teaching
A school data analyst. I need to get me one of those.
children compared to most public schools. Instead, large sums of money go towards some of the same companies connected to the Kingston's $500 million Washakie Renewable Energy fraud case, which sent Isaiah Kingston and Jacob Kingston to prison.
This is a school that is run by a closed society only for their own children, their own purposes, and their own profit. And that's what's concerning to me.
Vanguard Academy pointed to the school's high test scores and argued they're victims of religious persecution. Quote, "We're reviewing all legal options and
Not the high test scores. They said these kids are fucking smart, okay? When you threaten them with physical abuse and labor, they do awesome on standardized tests. It's crazy.
avenues to fight against these actions we see as purely motivated by discrimination and hatred."
The group is well known for bleeding the beast. I was taught that the term bleeding the beast means take money from the government, and that the government's the beast, and that they have plenty of money to give.
Chanel DeRue is a former member of the Kingston group.
Yikes.
She watched and wondered why the state seemed to shy away from ever bringing up the religion she was raised in, especially because each of the administrators in that room representing the school are related to the prophet, Paul
Perfect.
Kingston.
One's his son, one's his wife, one's his brother-in-law.
I like how, like, right-wingers are like, teachers are trying to indoctrinate our kids, when there's literally a religious cult that owns a public charter school.
One's his half-brother.
I question why we're walking on eggshells for something that is published and known.
Real.
These are not the only issues the state has found, which means our reporting does not end tonight. Tomorrow, we will...
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate that. I really, really do. So, expansion and international links. That school thing, I think, spanned, like, some of over what we're talking about. So the scheme grew into involve a network of corrupt law enforcement individuals, including federal agents and a Glendale detective who moonlighted for the gangsters. The Kingsters and Levon the Lion laundered money internationally, even stashing funds in Istanbul as a backup escape plan. Jacob Kingston bragged about his high-level connections, including meeting with the Turkish president and collaborating with a Turkish billionaire in alleged CIA asset. The fraudulent operation became so lucrative that the perpetrators struggled to manage the vast amounts of illicit cash. Then, in August 28th, 2018, dramatic arrest. This is when federal agents conducted a series of dramatic arrests at gunpoint. The Kingstons and Levon the Lion were taken into custody, marking the legal reckoning for those involved in one of the largest biofuel scams in U.S. history. Were they ever actually making that fuel? Did they ever do that? Mr. Doctor, you'd be a crazy good reporter. Funny you say that. I thought I wanted to be a journalist, and then when I was in high school, I went to a month-long program for journalism, and I realized how much you have to call people, and they don't pick up, and I just really did not like that. So now I do this instead, but I do view this as journalism. 2020, the conviction of Levon. He was convicted in 2020 of intimidating the Kingstons into paying him for protection and money laundering. Oh, I don't think it was intimidation. I think they were willing parties in this. Despite not being directly linked to documents tied to the fraud, the government argued that his influence and protection racket played a significant role in the operation's success. 2023, sentencing of the main perpetrators. 5 years after the arrest, all key players in the scam faced sentencing in Salt Lake City. Sally Kingston was sentenced to 6 years in prison, while Jacob, Isaiah, and Rachel Kingston are scheduled for sentencing April 6, 2023. Prosecutors have sought a life sentence for Levon, arguing that his actions led to severe consequences, including ruined lives and the loss of taxpayer funds. I feel like they're going really soft on the cult leaders and really hard on the Armenian mafia. Not to say that the Armenian mafia is good and we should go easy on them, but it just kind of feels very unequal. Levon's lawyers argued that the Kingston, with their history of criminal activities, were the true masterminds. The defense also pointed to allegations of broader corruption involving high-ranking government officials and even hinted at connections with the CIA, complicating the narrative of the biofuel scam. I feel like there's a lot here that we don't know about. Like the fact that all of this is, I don't know, easier to accuse foreign parties, I guess. I think the government was fucking embarrassed that they gave these people so much money in tax refunds and that they were literally giving them public school dollars, that the government was like, we have to make them look like victims because otherwise we look like we're fucking incompetent. Because they are. So the case illustrates the extraordinary lengths to which criminal enterprises involving unlikely allies will go to exploit government programs, resulting in one of the most extensive frauds of its kind. Like, I feel like they went easy on them because they knew that they were going to look dumb.
A young woman born into a polygamous cult based in Salt Lake City is speaking in public for the very first time after exposing an alleged multi-million-dollar business fraud by members of the Klan. Mary Nelson is her name. She escaped Utah's Kingston Klan, or the Order. It's also called that, a breakaway Mormon group with the help of her now husband, Brian. The couple worked with the IRS and the FBI to uncover an alleged $500 million scam. In tonight's episode of Whistleblower, Nelson discusses her journey from Kingston Klan member to government informant with host, judge, and former police officer Alex Ferrer.
Mary, who are these individuals?
Those are all my siblings.
Do you miss them?
Yes, I miss them very, very much.
When I found out
Why
that
did you do
Mary's
that?
father had over 200 children, I knew something was very wrong.
My father had...
Thanks, Nancy Drew. I need to, like, heal myself so that when men are trying to be nice and helpful, I can, like, accept that. Because he seems really nice, and that was mean of me to say. But, like, when I found out he had 200 children, I knew something was wrong. Okay, great, thank you.
Has 18 wives.
Mary Nelson is telling all how she became an unlikely whistleblower against prominent members of her own family.
That this is the work of the Lord.
The Kingston Klan.
They give you instructions. They say don't ask questions.
On February 10th, 2016, after going to the federal government, a series of events that Mary helped set in motion exploded.
Go Mary.
Major show up
Hell
force
yeah.
at several businesses owned by the Kingston polygamous group.
The raids were part of an investigation into an alleged money laundering scheme funding lavish lifestyles of some prominent Kingstons, from mansions to exotic cars, while other members lived near the poverty line.
It was
That looks like they're in the poverty line, not just near it.
more like an organized crime family.
Mary might never have become a whistleblower if she hadn't met Brian Nelson, a fellow student at Salt Lake Community College who helped her escape the Klan after she says she was ordered to marry her 17-year-old cousin.
There was nothing that was going to get in my way of stopping this.
See, like, this guy fucking rocks. Why was I so mean to him?
After the escape, the couple married and eventually had 2 children.
Hey, how was preschool
They are still in Utah, so let's keep that in mind.
today, buddy?
Mary told Brian what she had seen while working at the Kingston's own private bank. Did you forge documents when you worked there?
Yeah, so we were given just stacks and
They
stacks
literally
of checks
own a
and
bank.
just signing them, and they would just deposit that, just whatever account they needed.
Washakie Renewable Energy appears to be the most
Okay, they do
profitable
have an
business
actual
owned
thing.
by group members.
So when Mary was telling me this is the biggest company that the Order has, I started to immediately suspect fraud.
According to the government, Washakie's founders, brothers Jacob and Isaiah Kingston, falsified the company's
I don't like
tax
their
filings
face.
to obtain a massive $511 million worth of fraudulent tax credits.
Right then and there, I said, we got him. That's the beginning of the end.
What made you decide to become a whistleblower?
We didn't know that that's what we were. We knew that something had to change.
Were you ever afraid that the Kingston group would find out that you and Brian were the informants who went to the FBI?
I'm still very, very scared about that.
You were afraid that they were going to hunt you down.
Yeah.
Valid fear.
The Kingston Group says it condemns in the strongest terms fraudulent business practices, and they stress that this behavior goes completely against our beliefs and principles.
All right.
It also says that business owners who are members of the group have the autonomy to make their own business decisions. Alex Ferrer joins us at the table. This is a very troubling story. Listen,
Yes.
she just mentioned that she was scared and afraid. So how worried are they about retaliation? Mary and Brian, what are they
Very
doing?
worried,
Yeah.
and rightfully so. Court records
someone
reveal
wanna get
text
them
messages
security,
from Jacob
or-
Kingston, one of the brothers, relating to an enforcer where he asks for a 2-for-1 deal and a bulk discount. And the government alleges that the 2 brothers hired an enforcer to intimidate and harm witnesses, and the text messages seem to pretty clearly point to the whistleblowers.
Wow. 18 wives, more than 200 children.
Basically, children, it seems, according to the whistleblowers, are used like an ATM. They're the basis for a lot of different fraud against the government, which they call bleeding the beast. Alex, ingrained.
It's a troubling story indeed. Alex, good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
I love good journalism. So this is about food stamps in Colorado City, and I want to be very clear before we get into food stamps. I am very glad these people are getting food. I am very, 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 very glad these people are getting food. I want all of these people to have the food they need. What I'm not glad at is that they are able to get food stamps because all their money is going to a cult leader. That's what I'm not happy about. So I don't want anyone to think I want us to like crack down on food stamp users. I want us to crack down on cult leaders. And maybe seeing towns with high rates of food stamp usage could prompt an investigation, not to the people using it, but into local business practices, because clearly something is going awry.
The latest government numbers show the use of food stamps among the FLDS is on the rise, and the numbers are shocking compared to the rest of the state. Ladd Egan is live in southern Utah with more for us
Starts
tonight.
with
Ladd,
thinking
what
you're
type of
chosen by
percentages
God
are
and
we
getting a
looking at?
shit ton of wives, ends with tax fraud.
Well, Shauna, let's look at the two communities of Hilldale and Colorado City separately. On the Arizona side, in Colorado City, 81% of people there on food stamps. On the Utah side, about 61% of the people on those food stamps. A very high concentration and very high numbers when compared to the state averages of just 9% of people on food stamps.
And I was a local news editor during the time when Warren Jeffs was on trial.
As a journalist and author, Ed Cosilia has covered the cities of Colorado City and Hilldale for over 2 decades.
I want to go there. We should do a field trip.
Is what they would technically call bleeding the beast.
He says the polygamous use of government welfare is nothing new.
A typical plural family out there has, say, 5 wives, 5 kids each. We're looking at a little more than $13,000 a month per family.
Cosilia says the high use of government resources by polygamists is their payback for government intervention.
Bleeding the beast is a reaction to the feelings that the folks out there have towards the government.
The most recent numbers available for the two cities show just how high the food stamp saturation level is. Combined recipients in Colorado City and Hilldale...
I don't like all the clips of people getting their groceries. Leave them alone. They're victims.
...is 5,641 of a total population of 7,663.
Love to bleed the beast if it's not used to feed a cult leader.
73%
Exactly.
of residents on food stamps. That's a big increase, especially on the Utah side of the border, where cases have nearly tripled since 2008.
There's no documentation with the state. There's no way of saying...
You mean that when you took all of these people's money away, they were more reliant on food stamps? In 2008, when y'all raided them and took over the thing that they were being forced to put all their resources into and then withheld that money from them for literally over 10 years? Interesting.
That this woman
Not to mention the recession.
It's easy for polygamous families to get thousands a month, Cosilia says, especially since, in the eyes of the state, women in plural marriages are considered single moms.
When a child is
because they kind of are, like their husbands are not around.
Father's name unknown, which immediately kicks them up as they go through the benefits program.
I don't like the angle they're hitting this from, but y'all get what I mean and why it's here.
Benefits are frequently pooled and used to possibly stock food in centralized church food warehouses called bishop storehouses.
And then they don't even get to keep the food. They have to put it in the fucking bishop storehouse for the apocalypse. They literally have to store food for the apocalypse. Christine Brown talked about that some when she left Cody Brown, where she's like saying she didn't want food storage anymore because it's like an apocalyptic high control group mentality.
And looking at these numbers and talking to state officials, they say across the state of Utah, because of the recession, the use of food stamp recipients has gone up, but it has leveled off and is falling statewide. But Shauna, there in the polygamous communities, its use continues to rise. Back to you.
Those are big numbers, Lad.
Those are big numbers. They don't have taxpayer money. Who cares? I care about the people. So Lyle Jeffs, a leader in the FLDS, and 10 other members of the church were involved in large-scale food stamp fraud in that same little Short Creek community area. They misused federal food stamps by illegally converting the funds into cash. Instead of using the food stamps to purchase food, they directed members to buy goods and then sell them for cash, which was funneled into church coffers to support its operations. So like I said, like the people aren't even getting the food. What are they eating? That's my question. While awaiting trial, Lyle Jeffs was placed under house arrest with an ankle monitor. However, in June 2016, he used olive oil to slip out of the bracelet and fled. How loose was the bracelet if it was able to get off of his foot with olive oil? They should have put that shit on tight as hell. Becoming a federal fugitive, he remained on the run for more than a year, evading law enforcement across the country. His time as a fugitive ended June 14th, 2017, when he was arrested in South Dakota after attempting to pawn 2 Leatherman tools for $35. At least it seems like he was suffering. We will all take comfort in the fact that it seems like he was suffering. On September 20th, 2017, he pleaded guilty to charges of food stamp fraud and failure to appear in court. The U.S. Attorney for Utah, John Huber, announced prosecutors would recommend a 5-year prison sentence, and he had to pay $1 million in restitution to the U.S. government. So not to the people whose food he took, but to the U.S. government. Perfect. I always thought that was weird, that when you pay a fine, it goes to the government. I get to, like, cover the investigation, but come on. You wouldn't even want to give a little bit to the people? The guilty plea was in part of a deal in which a third charge of money laundering would be dismissed, but Jeffs would still be responsible for that restitution. Federal prosecutors emphasized that the case was about addressing fraud and not targeting religious beliefs, stating, "We're not out to punish people of faith, we're out to punish fraudsters." The misuse of food stamps had a significant impact on the community, which heavily relied on the funds that were diverted for church use. So, like, the most fucked up part is how they took the food.
11 leaders and members of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are behind bars tonight.
A lot of them talk about dumpster diving for food. That's sad. Especially because, like, in this area, I feel like there's probably not good dumpsters because everyone is FLDS. And, like, it's not like you could dumpster dive at, like, Chili's. Like, you're dumpster diving for, like, scraps of the other people who are also dumpster diving. It's just, like, a dumpster diving cycle, I think, is what's happening, which is terrible. I love when abusive men suffer, right?
Between many of the FLDS members in Colorado City, Arizona, and nearby Hilldale, Utah. The 11 people are charged with fraud and money laundering and could face up to 25 years in prison. The indictment filed today alleges church leaders misused a food stamp program called SNAP, which is intended for low-income and needy citizens. It shows they directed the food and other items to a select group of individuals within the church who were not approved to receive the free food. 2 of the defendants are the brothers of imprisoned FLDS leader Warren Jeffs. He is behind bars for life for sexually assaulting his 12.
Looks like he's going to get some company.
Child bride. Defendants will have their initial appearances in court tomorrow morning. 11.
Yikes. So this is an effect of this. This is FLDS storehouses under FBI lockdown. Give the food to the people. Why does the FBI have it?
Last week we told you about the needs of a group of people on the Arizona-Utah border. Hunger being addressed. The FBI locked down the food storehouses of the Colorado City Fundamental Latter-day Saints during the trial of church leaders who had been illegally taking food stamps provided to their community members, leaving victims who are often single mothers with several children to feed. According to Philip Jessup, who spoke with us today, those needs need to be met. Jessup runs a program that has been developing food to Colorado City out of his garage.
At least that guy's doing something.
Over to Fredonia's food bank and getting food there, and we've been instrumental in helping them put food on their shelves, which has been a joy. The media coverage, we have received $250 donations through PayPal.
That's not enough.
Received some other donations.
The government is literally handling it so bad. That's debatably pissing me off more than the exploitation and financial stuff. So, this is a story about teen labor. At age 15, Jefferson claims that at just 14 years old, he was forced to operate heavy construction equipment. His father was a prominent FLDS leader and now imprisoned prophet, accused him and other boys of inappropriate behavior, which led to severe punishment. They were dispatched to work with construction companies that were tied to the FLDS. By the time he was 15, he was working on construction sites for major hotel chains like Holiday Inn, Residence Inn, and Marriott. These projects were part of broader networks of construction businesses run by FLDS members, which extended across the country. Jefferson reported working at high-profile construction projects like hotels and residential communities. Despite the scale of the projects, the labor was often performed under harsh conditions with little regard for legal labor standards. Him and other miners worked long hours with no wages, where they faced significant physical and emotional stress. They are known for their very strict lifestyle and sending miners to work under the guise of religious duty. The use of child labor by FLDS-linked companies has been documented in multiple reports. In 2021, the Department of Labor fined FLDS-related businesses nearly $1 million for violation of child labor laws. Jeffson's experiences align with these reports as he worked for companies that had previously been cited for similar violations. Reliance Electric and other companies owned by FLDS members. These businesses faced legal action for employing minors and failing to pay their wages. Despite the legal risks, he was instructed to conceal his age and work under false pretenses. The bonnet made it in time, but I did not. After he left the FLDS church at 18, he used the skills he acquired in forced labor to support himself and his family. He found employment in construction and eventually transitioned to a career in the insurance industry. His experience highlight the significant personal and professional impact of this childhood exploitation. Jeffson's mother, Vicki Thompson, expressed surprise upon hearing about the extent of her son's labor, though she was aware of the harsh conditions in the FLDS. She described how the church's authority could override legal and ethical considerations, directing companies to employ child labor despite past violations. He now lives in Guatemala, engaged and working in insurance. Fucking good for you, man. Good for you. If the U.S. government let me be a child laborer for the Holiday Inn, I would move to Guatemala too. His story reflects the harsh realities and resilience. Apparently it's a very common one, is the resiliency. I think a lot of these were written by the same groups of journalists. So this is another one about the Kingston group. Former members claim they were made to work without pay from a young age. As you can see, a lot of these are very, very similar. For instance, Jeremy Roberts reported working long hours in a mine at age 12, really bringing it 1800s style. And Amanda Ray Grant was assigned to work at businesses that printed wedding announcements for underage marriages. Oh my God. Printed wedding announcements for underage marriages. I guess you do have to have someone to do that if you are a cult. You can't just fucking send it to Vistaprint. They're going to report your ass. Oh my God. The Kingston group has faced financial fraud like the renewable energy thing. They've also manipulated birth records to conceal the identity of fathers, avoiding legal repercussions associated with underage marriages. And one plaintiff, Jenny Kingston, alleges that she was sent to a rehab center as punishment for resisting an arranged marriage, and she was subject to sexual assault and forced in vitro fertilization. So I told you we weren't really going to get into sexual stuff. That was kind of surface level, but I didn't see that in vitro thing before because that's literally crazy. And how do they afford that? Y'all don't give people food, but you have IV money laying around? Or IVF money laying around?
Plaintiffs are suing the Kingston polygamous sect. The lawsuit accuses the group's top leaders of coercing girls into marriages, facilitating sexual abuse, and withholding wages. Fox 13 News investigative reporter Nate Carlisle explains.
The lawsuit was filed Wednesday in state court in Salt Lake City. Through 109 pages, the 8 women, 1 man, and 1 minor who are plaintiffs describe how the Kingston group teaches obedience to the top men and accuses them of grooming girls for teenage marriage, often in ways that violate the law. In one example, a plaintiff...
Why is that not always a violation of the law? Often violating the law. You mean there's teen marriages that aren't violating the law? I'm going to skip this video because I think it's more focused on the women's stuff, which again is important, but it's just a little too heavy for me to be getting into right now. So, moving on to the UAB. The UAB is like a little bit more mainstream. I think they wear more regular clothes, but they're still... I think the Browns from Sister Wives are not AUB, but know people that are. They are a fundamentalist group that practices polygamy, grapple with profound internal crisis stemming from allegations of abuse by their president, Lim Thompson. This has led to significant fractures. They are in Bluffdale, Utah. They've been recognized as a more mainstream group compared to their counterparts. They're known for their relatively moderate approach to polygamy and interactions with broader society. They don't mandate marriages, they forbid underage brides, and they reportedly cooperate with law enforcement on issues of sexual abuse. However, the recent scandal has exposed vulnerabilities within the organization and intensified existing tensions. So like I said, they're a little bit more mainstream. There were accusations of sexual misconduct from multiple people within Lynn Thompson's own family. The report said, oh, this is like too graphic. I don't want to read this. Is there anything about labor in here? I don't think so. I'm moving on from this. Yeah. Moving on. Story 10. I don't want to talk about sexual abuse. We've suffered enough, and I'm wearing a bonnet. I can't do that right now. I'll talk about financial abuse, but not this. Okay, so this is another FLDS group. They have a child labor case involving Paragon Contractors Corporation. This is on a pecan ranch in southern Utah. Apparently, the FLDS arranged for its children from its community to work the fields with the harvest split between the church and the ranch. So not even for money, but for pecans. That's you're gonna abuse the kids just for the pecans? Come on now. Children were reportedly sent to work in the field as a form of pecan. That's a debate as old as time. Were sent to work in the fields as a form of religious duty rather than voluntary employment, which directly conflicts with labor laws. The fact that the law is like, if the kid says they want to work in the fields, they can work in the fields. That's their God-given choice. They're like, these kids said they don't want to work in the fields, so we got to draw the line somewhere. The court found that these children were subject to coercion as they were required to participate in the harvesting process. This coercive environment was critical in determining that the children were effectively employees under the Fair Labor Standards Act, despite the church's claims that their participation was voluntary. The church is like, you don't understand. Timmy loves working in the pecan fields for 12 hours a day. Look how happy he is. You don't get it. He's just crying because he's happy. The relationship between the FLDS and pecan harvesting operation, facilitated through agreements between Utah Pecan Ranch and later Paragon Contractors, illustrates the complex interplay between religious practices and labor regulations. The church's direct involvement in managing the labor for commercial gain, combined with its control over community members, was a key factor in the court's decisions. So, in 2021, a federal judge ordered that the FLDS and two of its affiliates pay $1 million in back wages for underage FLDS members. This order was due to allegations that they violated child labor laws and forced these kids to work without paying them for literal years.
Anderson Cooper is keeping them honest. AC 360, CNN weeknights, 8 Eastern.
We received a tip that Warren Jeffs, the imprisoned leader
eyes.
of the polygamous FLDS sect, had ordered all schools closed for a week so children could go to work picking pecans off trees at a private ranch. We did not know what to expect as we drove to the outskirts of Hurricane, Utah, 23 miles northwest of their fundamentalist enclave.
Holy cow.
The tip was true. Hundreds of children.
Oh my God, there's so many of them.
Very small, working on a ranch. They were accompanied by
Not
some
the
mothers and a few
dresses.
men, but it was mostly the kids.
There they go.
Yeah. When we got out of the car to find out more about what was going on, we saw something that caught us off guard.
They all run away.
The children and their mothers started scattering, first slowly, and then it started picking up steam.
This is spooky.
They started running in the opposite direction from where they saw us in our camera. The ranch is huge, and they were given an obvious and urgent directive to get as far from us as quickly as possible.
The paranoia among FLDS leaders is intense, and that's because they know we're here to ask questions.
I don't like
why is it
this.
okay to pull all their children out of school so they can toil as free laborers? And what's happening with
Great use of the word toil, I must say.
all the money they're making?
We do know the property the ranch is on is owned by a Nevada businessman who is not in the FLDS. I reached the man's nephew on the phone. He works with his uncle.
On that ranch, we were there and saw hundreds of children from the FLDS, the Fundamentalist Latter-day Saints Church, harvesting the pecans. We're wondering, that's an arrangement you know about?
The nephew said somebody else would get back to me with answers.
Lies.
But nobody did. So we went to Las Vegas looking for property owner Gene Yamagata. We went to his company's office.
Do you run the office?
I'm the receptionist.
Okay. But is Mr. Yamagata here?
No, he is not.
Do you know where he is?
I do not.
Is there anyone else here who might know where he is?
No.
We then tried to
I
find him
hate
at his
being at
home.
work.
But he lives behind these palm trees in this private gated community. Law enforcement authorities
Built by
believe
the
money made
children.
from harvesting pecans goes directly to Warren Jeffs and his church. Mothers of
A
some
man not in the FLDS, just a differently terrible person who looked at the FLDS and said, I see a business opportunity here.
Some of the children I talked to off camera acknowledge they get no money for this work. Men helping to maintain security as scores of vans and cars.
This is funny. In fairness, their school curriculum was made by Warren Jeffs and is somehow worse than the Duggar curriculum, so at least they aren't missing out on education. They are missing out, but not because of the farming. They're just missing out because of all of these reasons. But that is a phenomenal point. Maybe the kids do like this better.
Directly to Warren Jeffs and his church. Mothers of some of the children I talked to off camera acknowledge they get no money for this work. Men helping to maintain security as scores of vans and...
So you talked to women off camera and you didn't want to like offer them help or refuge. You just said, thank you so much for your time, ma'am. You can go back to your secure guards who watch over you.
Cars came streaming in behind the gates were not surprisingly unhelpful.
Sir, can we ask you a quick question? Can you just tell us why all the children are out of school and making money for the church while picking pecans?
Not the
As the children who
not the
spent 8
Bluetooth
hours in the fields
earpiece.
on this day continued to work, a neighbor who owned an adjacent farm led us on her land. But when we arrived, the FLDS pecan pickers were chased away from us again. Dorothy Laub is a hog farmer and mother of 2 who says this FLDS child labor has gone on for a week or 2 for many years, and says she feels desperately sorry for the FLDS children.
The FLDS do not let their children talk to other children or adults.
So you see the children like come right up to your fence picking pecans and they ignore you?
Or they run.
They run away from you. I mean, they've been running away from us.
Yes.
But they run away from you and you're next door on your ranch.
In the past, I've seen them here past dark. And in the winter time when it's cool, I mean, I don't let my kids out. Once the sun starts going down, it's too cold for children to be out, especially working.
We went to the city hall in Colorado City, Arizona,
reasonable.
where the FLDS is headquartered, to try to find out what's going on.
Hi, this is Gary Tuckman from CNN. I
This
have
guy's
a
a
question.
good
If you can come
journalist.
to the door for a second.
There's nobody here that.
Well, you're here, and it says 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and right now it's 12:40 p.m.
Right. But I have no statement. You need to talk to the.
Well, you have no statement. You don't even know what the question is yet.
I know it.
You know it. Okay.
Mothers do not want to talk either.
I do know that there are children in the community
Well,
picking
you're
pecan in
here.
pecan fields not far from here. What do you think about that?
I don't care to comment, thanks.
Another FLDS
That was
mother told
polite.
me off camera her kids have fun picking the pecans. But when I responded that school had been canceled for a week and families were not being given a choice about this, she declared it's all good.
It's all
because It's
good.
being done for God and for her profit.
Don't even
Warren
worry.
Jeffs.
Don't even worry. Being a journalist is about being entertaining and nosy. That part of journalism I like going into offices, messing with people. It's the phone calls that were quite boring to me. So we're gonna skip through some of this stuff. I put it if we have time, but it's a lot of like sexual abuse and like custody things and things of that nature that I'm just really not that into. I'm not sure if I'm going to be going live with Fraz or not. We have to see what time the debate actually starts and all of that. But again, I just don't really want to watch all this stuff about like the child sexual abuse. It's just very, very heavy. So we're going to skip over that. Tonight was a little bit of like a hodgepodge of randomness, but I just feel like this is an interesting topic that really gets ignored. And I think that money is power. And like when we let these men accumulate millions and millions and millions of dollars, that is how they start exploiting people. Like that is how they get the power to do these terrible things and exploit people sexually and financially and all of these things. So I just always felt like the money and the forced labor was always like a footnote on the conversation about polygamy, and I wanted it to be like at the forefront of this conversation. Next week, like I mentioned, we are going to be on more of our science vibe. We're going to be talking about storm chasing and tornadoes. Like I mentioned, it's going to be a fun science time. Maybe I will wear the bonnet again. We might have to do it to him. And also, I don't know what this is, but my assistant put it in here and it says Judge Judy hears a polygamist case, and now I'm intrigued.
You have 7 wives. You're 48 years old. According to your answer, I needed a scorecard in my head. Let's see if I've got some of the facts right. You married 3 sets of sisters, correct?
Correct.
You married the 2 youngest, the 2 children of your fourth wife, so you were their stepfather. And your two youngest wives are your two stepdaughters from your fourth wife. Is that right?
Yikes.
Not exactly right.
Well,
let
me look at your answer, sir. You say your two youngest wives are the children of your fourth wife, June.
But they're not my youngest wives.
And one of them he married before he married you.
You see,
why are they talking like that's fine?
it wasn't that I married my stepdaughter.
He's
it was
like,
that I married my mother-in-law.
It's not that I married my stepdaughter. I married my mother-in-law. Get it? Like, yeah, bro, we do get it. That's not the problem. We're not confused.
I see. So you were married to one of June's children first.
Yes.
And how old was that child when you married her?
Was her daughter?
How old was the child when you married her?
Her daughter. Her daughter
Yes.
was 15.
And
So
how
a
old
child.
were you?
I was in my mid-30s.
Does Judge Judy have the right to arrest him on site?
And then after you married that child at age 15, then you married her mother.
I can see you
June.
I can see you like stigmatizing them by saying child.
Well, sir,
Well,
I have
oh,
five
you mean
children.
what they
A
are?
14, a 15-year-old. You married your second wife, Linda, when she was 14. You married your third wife, Shirley, when she was 15, according to your answer.
Mm-hmm.
You married your fifth wife, Leanne, when she was 14.
My
You married
assistant
your
did
sixth
slay
wife,
with this.
Carrie, when she was 15. And you married Hannah, wife number 7, when she was 14. Where's Hannah? That's you. You're 19 now.
Yes.
You have one child.
Yes.
And where's Carrie?
Right here.
And you're 21 now, and you have 2 children.
I'm 20 and I have 2 children, yes.
And
I'd be throwing
Leanne,
stuff at him.
You're 22. You have 3 children. You were 14 when you got married. Is that right?
Why'd he agree to that? Maybe he didn't know what it was.
So you know that polygamy is against the law.
I'm like kind of obsessed with this
Against the
bonnet.
law in the country
This is
where you
not
choose to
going how
live.
I thought it would.
I don't think so.
Well, tell me why you don't think so.
I don't think there's a law in the U.S. Code against polygamy.
Well, it is
there
against the law in every jurisdiction, in every individual jurisdiction in this country, sir.
It's against the law to have more than one marriage license and assume to have both of them valid, but it's not against the law to enter into a relationship with more than one person.
That's true. So then,
Fucking technicalities,
that's true.
bro.
We have a lot of people who have a lot of relationships, Mr. Green.
That's true.
But you, according to your answer, refer to these people as wife numbers 1 through 7.
Are we going to talk about my definition of my relationship
am
with the
pulling off
laws?
the
If you want to talk about
They
the
are very
laws,
timid.
I don't have a marriage license with any of these ladies. So, in essence, they're all mistresses. Am I the only man in America to have a mistress? Or more than one?
All right.
Are there laws against that? You see,
So that,
in
so
Utah,
that what you're saying, Mr. Green...
Oh, she's a Republican?
Just a second. What you're saying, Mr. Green, is that you're not married to any of these women.
in my mind, I'm married. Our relationship
He's
is
cooked,
the same
it's
as if
over.
it was a marriage sanctioned by the government. But I don't believe that we require a governmental sanction
Oh,
to
she
make a
endorsed
successful
Nikki Haley?
relationship.
Yikes.
If the government wanted to arrest us and come after us, they would have to arrest everyone that was cohabitating without a marriage license.
Oh, well, I see you've got this down pretty pat. Mr. Green?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me some other things about yourself.
The
Tell me
issue
what
wasn't
you
the
do for a
number of
living.
wives, it's the
I sell
children.
magazines.
Okay. You're an independent contractor?
Yes.
Did you file tax returns last year?
Yes.
How much did you earn?
That's personal.
Oh, shut
no,
up.
it's not. You're under oath. I asked you a question. How much did you earn when you filed your tax
Not
returns
you're under
last year,
oath.
sir?
I refuse to discuss my personal finances.
Interesting. So, let's play our frickin' game about this. Let me put the code up there. I'll put the link in the chat. This is just a trivia game about what we talked about. The only prize is clout. If you don't want your real name to come up on screen, put something else in. Put something funny, but don't put something offensive. Thanks. So, you don't need a login. You don't need your email. You don't need to pay. You don't need any of that. The directions are on the screen. I'm going to get rid of them for 1 second while I pick a thing. Let's do underwater. Actually, should we? Let's do jungle. No, Himalaya. That's the most like Utah landscape. So all you do is go to join.nearpod.com, enter that cute and gorgeous little code, and then you'll enter your name. I use Nearpod Sorry, I keep burping. I use Nearpod every day with my students. They're kind of over it. Well, with my AP students, with my other class, I don't really do slides with them. We do more like collaborate, work, moments, things like that. Oh, cool. Frost texted me. I'm sure you can hear her. Let me make sure it's on TikTok. I mainly just want to watch the debate. I'm finishing stream right now. I'll give people a couple more seconds to join. Thank you and God bless for this stream. And look at, can I just show you the back of the bonnet? Like, please, the lace detailing. I'm going to put all my hair in the bonnet. Hold on. This is going to be a real bonnet moment right here. Let me put the link in the chat again. Also, you can join on your phone, on a computer, like whatever your moment is. I'm so red because I was drinking. Does that happen to anybody else? Wear the bonnet for the debate stream with no explanation. Oh my God, I'm going to. I'm going to come on and just be in the bonnet. Oh, yes. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh my God, I should have had all my hair in it literally the whole time. Let's hope Trump is exactly who he is. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. This is literally, yes. Yes. This feels so right. I feel like someone said earlier I was like making my ancestors proud. I don't think my ancestors did this, but if they did, they looked good doing it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit start on the game. If you haven't joined yet, it'll let you join late, so don't be scared. It is like, it does feel good to like not have my hair on my neck and also not have it in a tie. Just for it to be chilling back there, I don't hate this. It's crooked. You guys, my bonnet is crooked. The debate stream, I believe, will be on TikTok. Your hell yeah was so Jenna Marbles. Anytime I say hell yeah, I'm referencing Jenna Marbles. Just know that. Anytime I say it, I'm trying to say it like her. I have to like fight to not say it during class. What does FLDS stand for? I forgot to pay attention, sorry. Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Who was the leader of the FLDS Church before Warren Jeffs? I don't even think I remember this. Oh wait, yes I do. Yes I do. What are you gonna be for Halloween? I haven't even thought about it yet. I was literally thinking about that the other day because I bought pants that make me look like Kim Possible and I was like, I guess I could just be Kim Possible. I'm pretty sure it's C, Rulon Jeffs, because it was his dad, right? Yeah, I was right. Look at those critical thinking skills. Wow. What is a key practice that makes the FLDS different? They're not regular Mormons. They're polygamist Mormons. What is a common consequence for FLDS men who were expelled from the community? They faced isolation and the loss of their families. Y'all are literally eating this game up. Wow. How did Warren Jeffs, among other various members, justify their actions? Open dialogue is crazy. It's going fast. I think it's set up to be the same. Oh, I think it's because if everyone answers, it just moves on. By citing legal issues. A gifted cheesecake. I love this. This is the look right here. How did the FLDS use child labor in the pecan industry? Imagine if it was for processing the oil. That sounds really dangerous. I think I might need to wear the bonnet for every stream. Maybe I should get different colors. I am gonna wear this when I teach about the Mormons settling Utah. That has been decided. How do I feel like it's like, because it was folded. There we go. No, that made it worse. There we go. We're getting better. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. What is the name of the trust that controlled the FLDS properties? Warren would have made them process the oil. That's probably what he originally said. So that when we're questioning them, that's why the moms are like, listen, we got it down from processing oil, so we're doing good as far as we're concerned. The Mormon Trust Fund is crazy. I am watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, or whatever that show is called, on Hulu. So good. I think I'm on episode 5. Felt fitting for this week. Which 2 towns does the FLDS control? It could be worse. The kids could be processing hot oil. Things could be much, much worse. We're waiting on a couple of our friends. I wonder what my boyfriend's gonna say when I come out wearing the bonnet, because I wasn't wearing it when I came in here. I don't even think he knows that I bought this. I'm just not gonna say anything, and we'll see how he reacts. What happened to Warren Jeffs in 2006? Not he ran for political office. Heavily edited, should be required viewing for teens. I think it's because my hair is heavy. That's why the bonnet's uneven. We need to get it in the middle. There we go. It's getting better. It is getting better. He was arrested and imprisoned for his crimes. I hope y'all are cool with the fact that I skipped over a lot of the sexual abuse stuff. I just really didn't want to talk about something that heavy. And financial fraud. I'll be on TikTok for the debate. I don't know if the screen will be shared. I don't know how that'll work. I'm just kind of hopping on to Fraz's debate coverage, so I don't have any questions or answers to your questions. Who is the prophet for the main sect of the FLDS? I don't know. I should have changed this one. I feel like this is unclear. Warren Jeffs. He's the most popular one. The Brigham Young and Joseph Smith, those are like the Mormon prophets. Congrats to Saturn Cat, Lizard Beth, Para Las Niñas parking lot. Child Bride, ooh, the bar's so low they had to lower it to hell. Blue Bonnet Butter, a bonnet parking lot. Baby Gorgeous Relative, Michelle, Srenler, Alyssa, Twisty, Bonnet Girlies, Loose Braids, Bonnet Baddie, Cowboy Girl, a Pecan Farm parking lot, Kai, Heaven Bless Ya, Sheets Mott Sticks, Asparagus Dino Nugget, Woo, Grace, Oz, Bubbly, Desi's, Melly Lynn, a Dispo parking lot, Kay, a Pecan Field parking lot, Kylie, Monica, and Banana Guy. Nice job, nice job. Any memes, anything that I missed, anything that you want to share? Apparently nothing, because the thing won't load. I'm going to stick around for a couple minutes because I want to go eat a snack before we get into the debate stuff. But thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate you all for being here. Whenever you're here, I know my topics are kind of like all over the place, but I like that you guys are always here for it. And we can talk about serious stuff without it being like a super downer. Not now. I'm busy dressing my salad and slipping off my ankle monitor with the leftover. Oh, wait, what? When I exploit my 100 sister wives Tuesday night classmates the right way, innocently egging on their jokes in the chat. I'm so glad that we had fun, even though this was depressing. I loved the bonnet. I will be doing more costumes. I'm very, very into this. Have a great night, and I will see you here next week for the